I was out looking around very early this morning, just as the rain was starting, and I was walking along this path going downhill, but there's a bit of a drop to my left along the path, and there's the top of a stone wall, because there's stone walls everywhere here, right? And I saw something glistening under a rock, and I was like, wow, that's a good beetle. It's a good size. I flipped the rock, and it was the head of this guy. Northern Slimy Salamander. Now, as I've said in many of my previous videos, it's not good to handle these guys, not good to handle amphibians. If you do, you must wet your hands, because our skins can burn them and dry out their membranes, which helps them to breathe and protect them. But the worst part is we can actually give them pain by the salts in our skins and how dry our skins are. These guys generally only come out when it rains, at dawn or dusk. They spend most of the year underground, you know, in burrows usually created by other animals. Very impressive species. I'm going to see if I can measure this one and see how big it is. It's probably a female. The females grow bigger than the males. It's insane that she's just sitting still. These guys barely ever sit still. You know, I'd say about 40% of the ones I find, they're around rock crevices and stuff like that. So as soon as I find them, they drop way down into the crevices, and I cannot retrieve them at that point. They like to feed on insects, you know, beetles, ants, sow bugs, earthworms, and that stuff, but they'll pretty much eat all sorts of insects. So these guys' Latin name is Plethodon glutinosus, because they produce this very sticky glue-like substance as a defense, and often when you find them, there's all sorts of debris stuck to them and stuff like that, and they're always around this moss. Not always, but very often. Their other names are the sticky salamander, for obvious reasons, the viscous salamander, the blue spotted salamander, even though their spots are generally a silvery white. And when these guys lay their eggs, they generally lay anywhere from half a dozen to 3 or 4 dozen eggs. And they don't lay them in water. They lay them in moist areas. And then the female, she'll fast and she'll guard the eggs for some time until they hatch. It generally takes a few months for them to hatch, because the babies will metamorphosize fully in the eggs. There's no aquatic stage, which is also pretty neat. The redback salamanders are like that too, and there's some other species like that. It's really impressive though. Now these guys will usually build their dens around water, you know, a few hundred feet from water, but not at it or in it. Okay, so that's pretty neat. And they also like the old growth forests, which is what this one's like. It's got some hemlock, some beech trees, some oak trees, some maple trees, a few ironwoods, and lots of rocks and cliffs and stone walls and stuff like that. I've never found them in an area that wasn't like that. Northern Slimy Salamander. There she goes. She's looking for a way to burrow under that moss. She'll find a way. You'll see. There she goes.